Hello and welcome to Press Party, where we turn the cameras on the media. Thanks for joining us here at Suffolk University's Studio 73. I'm your host, Katie Eastman. The Sochi Olympics are quickly approaching, but the media isn't focused on the athletes. And the highly anticipated Mitt Romney documentary premiered at a film festival. It's a glimpse into his personal life. One reporter went too far while testing out a school's security. That's all coming up, but first, let's meet our panel. We have the Chair of Communication and Journalism here at Suffolk University, Dr. Bob Rosenthal, and a Boston Herald columnist, Jess Heslem, joins us. And also we have Erica Mora. She is a multimedia journalist for the Boston Herald. The 2014 Winter Games are right around the corner, but take a look through the headlines and it's all about terror threats. And that's why one reporter has chosen to stay home.
Now the torch is passing through the hands of 40 torchbearers.
Cassidy Brettler has reported on the Olympics in Vancouver and the Olympics in London. This year, she was supposed to work for the Olympic News Service in Russia at the sledding center.
Over the last year, all of my goals in life have just been get me to Sochi and go to another Olympics and have a lot of fun and get some really cool experiences.
But that changed when suicide bombings in Volgograd killed 15 people and brought Cassidy right back to April 15th.
When the explosions go off, where are you? What does it mean?
I was about 30 feet from the finish line when the explosions went off, and I didn't know how to react. The first explosion, I felt it first and heard it at the same time. All of a sudden, all of these images from the Boston Marathon just started coming back into my mind, and I couldn't get this sinking feeling in my stomach out.
The Emerson College graduate canceled her flight shortly after the suicide bombings, just before news of the other terror threats.
Russian security forces are hunting for a suspected terrorist who may have already breached the Ring of Steel around Sochi.
Former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis said an attack on the Sochi Olympics would be almost impossible to stop.
It definitely makes me angry that there's people in the world that can make me not be excited about something I was so excited about for years.
Reporting for Press Party, I'm Katie Eastman. So this is pretty powerful. I knew Cassidy from Emerson College, and I know how much that meant to her to go and report on the Olympics. An incredible experience, but that something like this could stop her from doing that was really disheartening and made her angry. I mean, do you think that she should not have gone? Do you think she's giving in to?
I mean, I think it's a really personal choice for her. I think that obviously she's given a lot of thought, and if she was here during the Boston Marathon bombings, no one knew that was going to happen. And to go into a country while she's probably still dealing with a lot of stuff from that, and then to think, well, there's already threats going on. It's Russia. There's political upheaval, and it's almost, I can't say pretty real threats because I don't know for certain, but to go into that, I think I would have made the same decision if I were in her shoes.
Right. You can't look at an article about the Olympics without looking at threats. Mm-hmm. What's that like, seeing only, not seeing stuff about the athletes, only seeing?
It's very unfortunate that, these athletes, they've worked very, very hard to get to the Olympics. This is a dream for them. And the coverage has been all about security, as it should be, because it's a region of complete unrest. The Boston Marathon bombings are still very fresh on everyone's mind, especially for people in Boston. One of the brothers behind the bombings had spent some time in nearby Dagestan, and it's just, it's unfortunate, but this is the world we live in, and the security stories, I mean, there's just, even Ed Davis has come out and said he wouldn't, the former Boston Police Commissioner, he wouldn't want his family to go there.
And he said it's impossible to stop something like this. I mean, he knows firsthand. So I looking at this, it's frustrating because you want to see the stuff about the athletes. But Dr. Ab, do you agree as well that these are the stories we need to be talking about?
Well, yes, but and ironically, the light that is being shown on the publicity may actually make the terrorist act less likely, because everybody's awareness will be heightened, not just the security apparatus, which will all, of course, be there, but also other people might be reporting things like packages on the ground that they might not be reporting otherwise. So, the media is really doing its job of heightening our senses and letting us know what potentially might happen there.
Right. But do you think it also could lead to copycats, or people seeing this and saying, oh, that's a good idea? I mean, I know that's always an argument, but is that a valid argument, saying copycat?
The research there demonstrates that there's very little copycat stuff. What is more likely to happen in this particular instance is there are people like the Black Widows who are, 6 women whose husbands have died fighting the Russians, who are thinking about, apparently, there are reports they're thinking about strapping bombs on and doing those kind of things and immolating themselves. That has nothing to do with copycat. That a lot has to do with just this messianic sort of belief in their cause, for good or ill, and that's there's nothing we can do to control that.
Now you guys were saying it is so close to us and so recent. You were at the marathon bombings last year. Do you think you would be able to go to Russia right now?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think that a part of me would want to be defiant and refuse to have such a tragedy and these terrorists change my life or have any type of impact on my decisions. But quite honestly, I think that I'm still healing, and I think that I probably wouldn't.
So you can understand
I
where
can
Cassidy's
definitely
coming
understand
from and
where
why
she's coming from, and I feel for her. I really, really do feel for her. But I think if it's coming from the heart and this is what she thinks is best for her own stability, career-wise, health-wise, mentally, then she's doing the right thing.
Right, and while an individual decision like that is important, but remember that reporters put themselves in harm's way all the time in order to give us, the public, the information about what's going on in war zones, et cetera. So there are reporters who will be there and who will be able to fulfill that role for us.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of reporters there, regardless of security. But it is unfortunate, and you don't want to let the terrorists win, but also it's such a personal decision. Like if you're going to go over there and just be so nervous and can't do your job, then it's not worth it.
Right. And it's also too, it's 2 different types of reporting. I mean, she's going in it for the athletes and for the sports.
Right, and she would be working for the Olympic News Service, not there to talk about
exactly,
the threats.
Exactly. So it's very different. There's a big difference between reporters who have covered wars, who have covered countries in political upheaval versus the sports reporters who just were never intended to be that. I mean, that's exactly what happened at the finish line on Marathon Monday was we were there to cover a sport event, and then all of a sudden we turned into war zone reporters,
One thing that Cassie told me that really struck me was she was saying a lot of her friends are like, no, you have to do this, you can't let them win. But for them, it's not real. And for her, it's real, just like it's real for all of us because we were so close and we saw it. So I think a lot of people are looking at the news at a very distant perspective.
Yeah.
But we're so close.
And she was what, 30 feet from the finish line or the bombings? I mean, when you're there and she's not just watching it on the news. She lived through it. She was right there. She witnessed it. I mean, who knows what she saw? And to go through that experience and then to be faced with, okay, do you want to go into this other, situation where there's so much unrest and there could be terrorist attacks? I mean, it's a little different than her, somebody who's watched it on TV, like her friends, perhaps, saying, oh, you have to go. This is a huge opportunity.
Right.
And it would be interesting to know if she would have gone if she had not had the marathon experience.
Right. Yeah, I wonder. Well, thank you guys so much for weighing in. Thanks for everyone for watching. Up next, a different side of Mitt Romney in the new documentary, Mitt. Welcome back to Press Party. I'm Katie Eastman. The former presidential candidate Mitt Romney isn't known for his magnetic personality, but a new documentary about his 2008 and 2012 campaign has nothing about politics. It's all personal. Take a look at these clips.
I just can't believe you're going to lose.
Yeah. So what do you think you say in a concession speech? How in the world do we find these things out on the day of the debate?
He hates to disappoint.
Are you going to iron it on? Are you seriously?
It's working. Ouch.
A recent poll said that 43% of Americans are not even sure who you are.
The flipping Mormon.
How did you feel on the stage?
I was dying.
I would not want to do this again. It's too much.
I have looked, by the way, at what happens to anybody in this country who loses as the nominee of their party. They become a loser for life, all right? It's over.
So this is a Netflix documentary that just premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. So not a lot of people have seen it, and that was the Romney family's first time seeing it as well. But they trusted this guy to follow them for 6 years. And we never saw any of this footage throughout the whole campaign. Yeah. It was surprising to me to hear about this. You're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Yes, because if you believe that this is real as opposed to managed, there's a bridge over the Mystic River I'd like to sell you, Katie.
But I don't know. When you look at that footage, that's very much behind the scenes
But
stuff.
they have, I'm sure they had editorial control even behind the scenes. And so it's designed, this is a man, not one hair out of place. He irons his jeans, for God's sake.
He irons his jacket while it's on him. That was the clip.
It's up to that clip in there. And you go, there is not, they have had their fingers in every piece of this film. And that does not necessarily mean that we won't gain a little bit of insights, because you'll see a little bit, but you'll gain the insights that Mitt Romney wants us to gain.
And am I remembering this fact incorrectly? Didn't they hire him? Didn't they ask the director?
It was either Josh or Tag asked to talk to the director. Right. It was his sons that were about it. Well, okay, this is apparently what they say. They saw this documentary and he did something on the New York Dolls, and apparently that convinced them, which is a bizarre thing. And then they told Mitt Romney, this guy's good, you should do that. And at first he was nervous about it, and his campaign was like, no, we don't want to do this. But they convinced them. But again, that's what we hear from the Romney family.
But the sons wanted to do it,
Do you think the sons wanted to become famous? Is that
I don't know. You know, Mitt Romney, he had obviously a hard time relating to voters. He's a successful businessman, very wealthy, extremely polished. I mean, he even looked polished in that bit we just saw. And that was part of the problem, is that voters didn't get to really see his personal side, you know, his family side, you know, a more human side of him. I mean, I don't know if any of this footage had been released sooner, because I know he's been filming them for 6 years. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. It's definitely a roll of the dice, but I can't wait to see it. I'm interested, very much interested in seeing this side of him.
Dr. Bob, if it was all contrived, as you say, as you think it was, wouldn't they want to have released some of it sooner to show the public that he is a human being?
Well, I don't think it was staged per se. What it is it's post-production editing, right? In other words, there's nothing, I'm sure that they caught some things on camera that do not appear in this film because they don't want them to appear in the film. Maybe some of the reactions after he found out he lost, even though there's some reaction, maybe not quite the same. Maybe, you know, those little bits, maybe he swore a couple of times, right? You know, and but so it's not like he was staging everything while this was on. I'm sure that the filmmaker caught a lot of these real key moments, but they don't make it into the film, I don't think, unless they picture Mitt Romney and his family in a positive light.
Do you think that's true? Do you think he saw the editing process, picked out some bits?
It's quite possible. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. I think what is more plausible is that they probably said, okay, yeah, you can come in and film now. And they probably, the presence of the cameras probably silenced them for a couple of reactions.
Whenever there's a camera
around
you.
Right. And granted, it was for 6 years. I'm sure the cameramen got to know them very personally, and maybe there were certain points where they forgot about it. But I think in that regard, there was that during production, editing or producing, you know. And I mean, if you look at it, I mean, no family is that polished all the time. It's impossible.
Right.
Like, it's impossible.
But we haven't seen the whole documentary.
We haven't.
Maybe it shows them going crazy.
Maybe it does.
Apparently, Tag was really nervous that it would show him texting on his BlackBerry during their family prayer.
Yes.
So
I think, didn't he ask the filmmaker to keep it out?
Yeah,
I think he did. Yeah.
But he said it might still be in there. That could just be a little cheesy thing that he wanted to say. But
and like, if that's like, really, you're gonna ask to have that be taken out? Like,
if that's their biggest concern, I think they're good.
You know.
Well, the way they do it with things like the Bruins TV show, you know, the behind the scenes with the bees, is they have some editorial control over what shows up, right? Because locker rooms can be really interesting places, as I'm sure you know. But and so it's not unusual for these things. You know, the documentary on Hillary Clinton or the you know, that's all whitewashed too. There's a lot of control over this. If you grant access, it's usually not unfettered access unless you were incredibly naive about the media.
Right.
Right?
That makes sense. Well, we'll just have to see when we all see the film. I think it comes out on Netflix in the next few months or so.
Yeah, maybe a few weeks.
In a few weeks. We'll find out.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. That's all the time we have. Up next, a TV reporter causes a school lockdown. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Press Party. I'm your host, Katie Eastman. An investigative stunt has a TV station in St. Louis apologizing for causing a school lockdown. Erica Mora has the story.
Kirkwood High School was on lockdown for more than an hour earlier today after an unidentified person roamed the halls.
At first, your heart skips a beat in panic.
That unidentified person turned out to be a reporter from Channel 5 News.
Turns out KSDK in St. Louis, Missouri was investigating the safety of 5 local schools.
We followed each district's written security policies. We visited the schools and attempted to enter the same way anyone else in the public would enter.
The employee entered the school, asked to speak to security, then asked to use the bathroom, but was not escorted there and instead left the school. In an interview with another station, school officials said when they couldn't find the man, they issued a lockdown. Students were told to shelter in place and parents were notified.
The floor kind of just falls out, felt like it falls out beneath you.
KSDK was bombarded with criticism.
We begin tonight with an apology.
Well, kind of. It was more of a defensive explanation as to why they did what they did. The station aired the package anyway.
According to the security expert we consulted, 4 passed, 1 failed.
Which happened to be Kirkwood because it took them about an hour to enact the lockdown. So was the story worth bringing panic to school staff, teens, and their families? For Press Party, I'm Erica Mora.
All right, so a good investigation or something that went wrong by the TV station?
Something that went terribly wrong. This is the problem. They didn't think it through. And it's actually it's dangerous when you make the news rather than reporting the news. And I have to point out, this was a Channel 5 in St. Louis, and we're reporting this on the day that the former Channel 5 anchor Chet Curtis passed away, who along with Natalie Jacobson, his wife, defined excellence in journalism for many years at Channel 5. I don't think Chet Curtis would have okayed something like this.
Erica, what do you think? You said you watched a lot of the investigations.
Right.
This was the one that went wrong. The other ones, they immediately said don't go, but they said that this school failed. But do you think that they made them fail?
Yeah, I do think that they made them fail. I think that, by the time the person left and they were trying to find the school, was trying to find this person who had mysteriously all of a sudden left the building, they had gotten wind that it might have been a reporter, so the school called the station to confirm. So
they couldn't get a hold of the station?
But they couldn't get a hold of the station. So I think that it would have done good to go back into the school on the employers or the reporter, whoever it was, the photojournalist, whoever went into the school, to go back and say, I was, or I am an employee of the station. Why did you not escort me into the bathroom or to the bathroom?
Rather than letting it go out and cause the lockdown.
And cause panic. I mean, Newtown is still so fresh. There have been mass shootings reported for the last couple of months. Parents are automatically going to panic, and I think, how dare a station take the chance in putting a school into lockdown and creating that panic for parents.
Mm-hmm. Jess, you said you had done something similar, or
I did.
Explain that.
All right, years and years ago, I don't even think I was at the Herald. I think it was when I was at another paper. We did a story on school security, and you had a couple schools you had to go to. There were a couple reporters fanned out, and you had to go into the school and get as far as you could until somebody asked who you were. And I remember vaguely, because it was a long time ago, getting into the cafeteria and somebody saying, "Okay, who are you?" and identifying myself.
But you said, I am.
Oh yeah, I said I'm, which
Right.
I always do. You have to identify yourself. But the problem is that was years ago. This is a different climate now. As you pointed out, there's school shootings every single week. Seeing on one of the clips, one of the kids in the lockdown emailing his mother, texting his mother saying, "I love you if anything happens." I mean, it's a different world now. I think that was really kind of reckless in a way, because I feel like that reporter, when they went into the office, should have identified themselves.
So you wouldn't have done what you did a few years ago now?
I don't think we would do it now. I mean, I think they went to some elementary schools too, and I just don't, I don't think so. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that now.
Right.
Well, and also remember then that in some jurisdictions in this country now, teachers and other people in the schools, security guards, et cetera, are armed.
Yes.
The person actually put themselves in danger, and then anytime a firearm is discharged, the people around the individual are also in danger of being hurt as an innocent bystander. This was just an absolutely appalling case of poor judgment on the part of the station in St. Louis.
Is there a way to do this story right? if you want to test, can you? Can you go in and identify yourself and do something? Could they have done something better, or should they just not have done it at all?
I mean, I don't know. I would tend to think that there's probably outside organizations that do test the security of schools through the school districts. I tend to think, maybe I'm incorrect with that, but again, going back to your point before, when media and when news organizations try to create the news is when it comes into problems. If there was another organization that happened to do the test and the news station wanted to report on that test, that's a different story, but a news station doing it is just insensitive.
It's crossing the line.
Yeah, it's insensitive in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they run drills all the time, and again, professionals do it. Yeah. This isn't the job of a news organization, right?
But when they run the drills, they do tell certain people about it. So is that, should they have nobody know about the drills?
Well, the reason why you do that is so you don't have some child texting their mother saying, I hope to be able to come home for dinner tonight if I'm not dead. Right. You know, that's
I couldn't imagine.
Appalling.
Yeah. In being that child or being that mother getting that text.
You don't want to scare children when you're doing your job as a reporter.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for weighing in. Thanks for watching. For Press Party and Suffolk University, I'm Katie Eastman. We'll see you next week.